Sasfin Securities. Although Greece dominated headlines throughout June, other themes are having a larger impact on markets. After Greece, what does the future hold for the European Union? The anti-austerity government in Greece under Mr. Tsipras's leadership took a hardline stance against creditors in June and early July. They even went as far as calling a referendum to vote against the proposed austerity measures. Their tactics backfired. Although they won the referendum, capital controls were implemented, banks closed, and Mr. Tsipras was ultimately left with no options but to accept the restrictions imposed by creditors in order for Greece to remain in the euro. Ironically, these restrictions are even harsher than the ones voted down in the referendum. The Greek government voted for the proposed deal after much debate and with the Prime Minister seeing many of his own party defect and riots in the streets of Greece, but a Grexit could still be on the cards and only time will tell what the future holds. US yield curve. While the Fed only controls the Fed fund rate, it is very concerned with the behavior of interest rates across all maturities. Three factors determine the level of nominal long-dated Treasury yields, namely expected inflation, the expected path of real rates, and the term premium. So far this year, the short and long-term interest rates have behaved very differently. Market expectations for the first Fed fund rate rise have been relatively stable. The path of real short-term rates is also a key input in the determination of the shape of the yield curve over the next few years. Underlying US GDP strength. Constant price seasonally adjusted quarter-on-quarter gross domestic product (GDP) for the US was revised down to -0.7% in Q1 2015 and 2.2% in Q4 2014 GDP. This marks the third time in the past 5 years that first quarter GDP growth in the US was negative, which is now raising questions of potentially flawed seasonal adjustment procedures. Consumer spending remains the main growth engine, and personal disposable income has been strengthening due to payroll gains and a slow acceleration in wage increases. A sharp fall in gasoline sales slowed retail sales, but the remaining areas of the retail market were firm. The strengthening labor market is also boosting the housing market. The Fed is expected to look through the Q1 GDP weakness and is probably still on track for its first Fed fund rate raise in September 2015. Hawkish SARB. At present, monetary policy in South Africa is accommodative with the current leading real repo rate at -0.45%, well below the average of 2.5% over the last 15 years. The South African Reserve Bank, SARB, has become more hawkish recently because of rising inflation and international developments which have the potential to negatively affect foreign portfolio capital flows into South Africa. The SARB forecasts headline inflation to rise above the upper inflation target of 6%, peaking at 6.8% in Q1 2016 before declining to 6.0% in Q2 2016. Inflation expectations have risen slightly in Q2 2015 but remain effectively anchored by inflation targeting. The SARB is in the unenviable position of having to try to achieve price stability in an economy with weak growth, low labor participation, and extremely high unemployment. South Africa's rising inflation rate is cost-pushed and becoming increasingly sensitive to the South African rand. Power utility crisis. This power utility is facing multiple crises. It embarked on a massive capacity expansion program 9 years ago. The new power stations are way over budget and over time, and the existing coal-fired power generation base has been inadequately maintained for an extended period, resulting in decreasing fleet utilization rates. Eskom's deteriorating operational and financial performance has resulted in it being downgraded by credit rating agencies S&P and Moody's to one notch below investment grade. This limits the utility's access to debt markets. The leadership crisis in Eskom has only exacerbated the situation. The new acting CEO, Brian Molefe, was appointed in April 2015 in an attempt to stabilize the utility. He has his work cut out for him. Eskom's inability to supply adequate electrical power is a major constraint on the country's economic growth, and the load shedding is causing widespread disruption and additional cost to business and households. MasterCard. MasterCard manages several payment brands and an open-loop global payment network. MasterCard's network functions as a toll booth on financial transactions, generating a small amount of revenue from every transaction that runs through its network and every dollar of payments made using the MasterCard brand. It has a range of payment solutions and services under various strong global brands, including MasterCard, Maestro, and Cirrus. MasterCard also provides value-added offerings such as loyalty and reward programs, information services, and consulting. MasterCard claims to have the world's fastest payment network, which it uses to facilitate processing of payment transactions and to deliver related products and services. MasterCard does not issue cards or extend credit and thus do not have any credit risk. The cardholder relationships belong to MasterCard's financial institution customers. The company benefits from recurring revenue, high incremental margins, and low capital expenditure, which enhances the high free cash flow generation. MasterCard processes transactions through their network for issuer customers in more than 150 currencies in more than 210 countries and territories. As of March 2015, the company's customers had issued 2.2 billion MasterCard and Maestro branded cards. The Priceless advertising campaign, which is run in 53 languages in 112 countries worldwide, promotes MasterCard usage benefits and acceptance, markets MasterCard payment products and solutions, and provides MasterCard with a consistent, recognizable message. MasterCard's continuous reinvestment keeps the operating margin from growing from 50% to 60%. The company is a high fixed asset business, which means that it is very scalable. Thus, an investment today should lead to margin and multiple expansion in future. We are interested in MasterCard because it is a leading participant in the global payments industry, which is a secular growth story and is well positioned to continue to be a leader through technological innovation. UnionPay is a Chinese payment network operator. Citi is the world's largest credit card issuer. MasterCard negotiated a new and expanded 10-year agreement to move all their proprietary consumer credit and debit card portfolios to MasterCard. Barclaycard is converting a significant part of their commercial card business to MasterCard.